Now, is it just a way to prevent accumulation of fluids? Not necessarily. So is it just a drain gutter? Is it just something to prevent this backlog and cause it to drain from the body? Well, the thing is that it's important for fluid balance, and that's why I'm definitely trying to cover the lymphatic system for Unit 2. But the thing about your lymphatic system is also a transport system as well, especially those lymphocytes, those white blood cells that are very important for your immune system. So it's kind of like a transport system, like a subway, but also important in it's kind of like transporting the troops of your body, your immune defenses. So I like to think of the lymphatic system as kind of like a big way of like, we have our arteries and veins that deliver our oxygen, nutrients, and some of these cells, but this is their way to return back to this like return route. So pathogens are generally things that can cause disease. So patho is a prefix we talk about that typically refers to something related to disease. So pathogen, anything that can generate disease. So like viruses, bacteria, parasites, fungi, these are all pathogens. Now, lymphocytes, okay, so at this stage, do I want you to know specifically what T cells, B cells, and NK cells do? I'm saving that for the next exam. Just know that these are all considered lymphocytes. So these are the immune cells that are very important in defending your body against pathogens. And this is the lymphatic system. So what you have is all of these networks of these lymphatic vessels and ducts, and also these things called lymph nodes. And these are general location of lymph nodes. They can vary by number, and this is why you won't find like exactly the same spot on your body, and there might be multiple lymph nodes. Depends on the person. So yeah, there's multiple sites for lymph nodes. These lymph nodes, well, what do they have? They have all these areas where these T cells and B cells and other immune cells mature. So the overall structure of these lymph nodes, also, so that's an interesting thing. Lymph nodes are very important, not only very important in the kind of like training these white blood cells and lymphocytes. So yeah, what we have here are all these vessels, lymphatic vessels that lead to these lymph nodes, and they also leave these lymph nodes as well. So yeah, notice that there's T cells, B cells, plasma cells. These are all immune cells. So this is why these lymph nodes are very important. They're big gatherings of all these immune cells. And the general structure, they have a capsule, a cortex, and a medulla. And they actually have subdivisions. At this stage, don't worry too much about outer cortex versus deep cortex. But yeah, remember in general, when you have a medulla and a cortex, the medulla is in the inside and the cortex is on the outside. And capsules generally hold, these are like fibrous, dense connective tissue that help to form a wrapping around an organ or a tissue. Okay, so what I want you to know, definitely at this stage, is that notice that all these lymphatics, there are multiple afferent vessels and one efferent vessel. So again, efferent, remember that in the nervous system, afferent is something that goes toward the central nervous system. Efferent goes away from the nervous system. So afferent or afferent is kind of like toward, efferent or efferent is like away. Now, what does it do? It filters, so it removes debris and waste. It's one way of like kind of getting rid of the garbage, but it's also there for protection. So basically, all of the interstitial fluids and those excess fluids, and even if there's an errant bacteria that somehow gets into your lymphatics, it's going to hit all these immune system or all these immune cells when it goes to the nearest lymph node. So it also removes pathogens. So this is why when you have an infection in an area, say that virus or pathogen ends up in a lymph node, what can that trigger? That can trigger immune response. That can cause the immune cells in that lymph node to multiply. And by multiplying, that's going to cause that lymph node to swell. Yeah, so it also helps your immune defenses.